I question if there even is a lottery. Like, they say there are ping pong balls, and they brought out a case where they said, yes, this is ping pong balls, but no one gets to see it. Who knows if there even are ping pong balls? Like,
Conspiracy theorist Logan here.
well,
Hello and welcome back, Cage Kiplinger, Logan Hubert. This is the KNL Sports Huddle, episode number 63. It is Monday, May 11th, and hoping everyone either called or spent time with their moms yesterday for Mother's Day. This week, we got more NBA playoff reactions as we are through Game 4 of two of the series. We got some Game 4s tonight for these second round matchups, and it's PGA Championship week. We'll be previewing the second of what is, I would say, the most underrated of the four majors as the tour heads to just outside of Philly this weekend. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I think we can set a goal for 100 subscribers by the end of this year. But if you prefer listening on Spotify, the link to our page is in our YouTube channel description. You can also get us on Instagram at HuddleKL Sports for breaking news and clips from our episodes. Logan, great to see you again. Start us off with our weekly Whiplash.
absolutely good, sir. So, starting in the MLB, the Chicago Cubs, well, it did come to an end this past weekend. They accomplished a rare feat as they went on a second 10-game winning streak in the first 40 games of the season. That's not really happened too often before. Actually, not since 1955 when the Brooklyn Dodgers accomplished that feat. So I'm pretty sure that was the same year, or at least the year before, maybe that Rosa Parks gave up her bus seat somewhere on there. So shows you how old that was. But despite that, their lead in the NL Central is not very big because of just how dominant the rest of the division has been, particularly your Cardinals.
It's kept up.
It's kept up, yeah. I still think eventually a couple of these teams are going to fall back, but it's still a fun story as we're into the middle of May, and we've still got all of the win. But hats off to the Cubs because the Red series was crazy because there was the first three games of that 4-game series were walk-offs. Yeah, and then the fourth one they blew them out. So just a crazy streak that, of course, water is eventually going to find its level, but still, something for the memory books for Cubs fans for this year.
Yeah, that Dodger team in '55 ended up winning the World Series. Cubs looking good. This is the best start that the Cubs have been on since the 2016 squad. Obviously, this bodes well for them as they lead the NL Central. Outside of that 55 team, only the 1941 St. Louis Cardinals did this, the 2 10-game win streaks in their first 40 games. So yeah, it's a pretty, at least since 1901, whenever the two leagues merged. So yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Yep. In more sad MLB news, Hall of Fame manager Bobby Cox, formerly of the Atlanta Braves, who led them to that 1995 World Series title. He's passed away at 84. He claimed 5 NL pennants and his 4th all-time in manager wins. So a big loss in the managing world, I should say, of the MLB. Part of that Braves team in the mid-90s that was pretty memorable.
Yeah, a lot of those teams in the '90s and like early mid 2000s, Braves teams were led by him, and he's got one of the coolest records. He's set the all-time record for ejections with 162, a full MLB regular season's worth of ejections.
Which is what you want to see if you're not winning World Series and you're going to the ballpark. Yeah, that's what you want to see. You want to see brawls, you want to see ejections. So.
And holds the record for most 100-win seasons with 6. So, especially when you think about all the great Yankees teams that one manager doesn't have more than him. So that's pretty cool.
Yep, and then in golf, we had the Truist Championship over the weekend, and Christopher Reiten took home the $3.6 million earning after his first career win. He was in contention last week, I believe, at the Cadillac Championship. I guess you could claim he's one of the hotter players right now. Held off a pretty good field at the top. at the end there. We had Cam Young, who was probably the hottest guy on the PGA Tour, was up there. The less popular Fitzpatrick brother was there, Alex Fitzpatrick, but he won he helped win the Zurich just a couple weeks ago. So yeah, all in preparation for the PGA Championship, which we will get to later in the segments. But
Yeah,
any
there was
comments on the Truist? You watch any of it?
yeah, definitely a Sunday. I was hoping to see there at one point we had four guys at 14 under. Uh, One of them was my guy Ricky Fowler. Just couldn't finish the job. I was hoping we'd maybe see like a four-man playoff. That would have been
I'm still
the
waiting for
dream
that.
scenario.
Yes. When is the last time that's happened, or like just a bigger than three? Because I really want that to happen at some point. It
Yeah,
would be so entertaining. A major would be awesome. If having a major, that would just be awesome.
maybe this
Yeah,
week we've
there's a
got
couple
a
of guys.
lot of hot players right now coming into
Yeah,
this major. So
yeah, yeah.
all
Justin
right,
Thomas was another guy who was up there towards the top, and I mean, his peak was definitely a few years ago, but like a I mean, he's been playing better than Ricky Fowler as of late, but still, it was nice to see him up towards the top again as well.
yep. All right, let's move on to the hardwood. Got a lot of NBA talk here, but I do want to get us started with the draft because the draft lottery, the ping pong balls in all their glory, revealed the top picks in this upcoming draft in June. And just wanted to get some of your thoughts before we get into these playoff games because the Wizards get their first number one pick since 2010 um, as they win the lottery and get that first pick. Um, Obviously, it's looking like AJ DeBonsa is going to be their guy. The Jazz end up getting the second pick. All signs point towards Darren Peterson for that one as well. Just what were the first reactions before we start talking about the Pacers?
Yeah, we got illegitimately bad team getting the first pick, which is good. A team that was definitely tanking at points that wasn't getting near enough criticism as other teams were. I felt like because, like I mentioned before, Young's injury wasn't supposed to be that long, and where was he all year? I thought they traded for him. That's really weird. But no one ever talked about them for some reason. I guess that irrelevant. I don't know. It's interesting because Anthony Davis has been really weird lately. Like, does he even want to be there in Washington? But now that they're probably going to get DeBonsa, they got a nice little core to work with Trae Young and DeBonsa and Davis, and I mean, they're younger guys who they've drafted through all these bad years.
Sar.
That guys like that. I mean, put them with actual good players, they might like have a better career instead of just relying on them to be the guy. So um, the Jazz are interesting because of the whole. And I've seen this story thrown around of how they're in Utah. That's frankly that's where DeBonsa has been the last year at BYU. So, like, is there speculation since they're that close? Will they make a move for the top overall pick? Um, I wouldn't, and I don't think Danny Ainge would, but it is an interest. The whole Utah thing is an interesting dynamic given the location. And then, yeah, the Grizzlies and the Bulls were the two teams that moved up. Well, I guess the Jazz technically did a little bit, but they were close enough to the top three. I don't count that. But the Bulls and the Grizzlies are the ones who made a decent sized jump into the top four, um, which is good. I don't mind. Both of those teams have been irrelevant. Well, the Grizzlies have had some relevancy. The Bulls I don't mind the Bulls despite being not, you could say not the worst team. They need a jolt. They've needed a jolt for a long time, and hopefully they get something like Caleb Wilson or something like that. So, and then the Grizzlies. I'm kind of looking forward to see who they pair with my guy Edie. They
Yeah.
go with the power forward route with Boozer. I don't know. I mean that it's interesting. I don't know what they're going to do there because they say they're riding with Edie and who's the other guy? Coward, I believe Cedric Coward. So, and who knows what's going to happen with John Morant.
Yep, and then the ping pong ball that we were most looking out for was that Indiana Pacers potential pick after trading for Ivica Zubac this past season. A failed bet as the Clippers end up getting that protected or unprotected, however it works with those protected picks in the NBA draft. But the Pacers strike out, again, adding yet another piece to what's potentially being another playoff team next year.
Yeah, before we get to them, because I'm just going to go on a long rant about that. Well, just a couple more notes. The teams that got absolutely screwed were, in my opinion, the teams that got absolutely screwed were the teams after the Pacers. The poor Brooklyn Nets, and then the Sacramento Kings, who've just been living in hell for 25 years, dropping all the way to seventh. That's just unfortunate. I couldn't imagine being a fan of one of those two teams. But yeah, okay, yeah, with the Pacers. So there's been all kinds of overreactions to this, saying how horrible of a trade this was. When to me, this all just came down to it was just bad ping pong ball luck because I think I think if your takeaway that this trade was horrible and the Pacers should have never done this trade and it's one of the worst trades ever, I think you suffer from mental retardation. I mean, I'm serious. You're not looking at any. You're not. Let's say they did not make this trade for Zubac, who you don't know of all the NBA. He is
They won't have a center.
He's a 7'4" top 10 big man. You could even argue top 5 center just by what he does. Rebound and gets double doubles for you. So yeah, let's say they didn't make that trade and the draft lottery went exactly how it went. How it goes this time. I went and the Pacers end up with the 5th pick. Who are they going to? Jay Huff is going to be their starting center, and who in the draft are they going to get? Everyone. And I talked about this earlier a few weeks ago. The guys around the 5th are going to be like Flemings from Houston, Wagler from Illinois, Aka, Arkansas, all point guards, all shooting guards, which the Pacers do not need. So yeah, so would you rather have the 5th pick and no big man, no playing a big man, and I don't think the Clippers would do that trade now. I think you only could have done it because there was a big market for Zubac. Like they needed that. Like that draft pick was needed in the trade. Like because those big guys are hard to come by. Like that good of a defensive presence, and like so many contenders want that kind of big guy. So yeah, was it frustrating the Pacers didn't get the top 4 pick? Well, absolutely. I was pissed off for sure, and it just goes to the point where I question if there even is a lottery. Like they say there are ping pong balls, and they brought out a case where they said, yes, this is ping pong balls, but no one gets to see it. Who knows if there even are ping pong balls? Like
Conspiracy theorist Logan here.
Well, I don't like they could get rid of so much like speculation and conspiracy theories if they just broadcasted the ping pong balls. That's all anyone's asking for. Like they could put weights in them, obviously, to make it fluky, but it'll be harder to tell. Just want transparency. But yeah, and the Pacers just viewed that. Obviously, like DeBonsa and Peterson aren't big guys, so the Pacers would, like, if they didn't trade Zubac, they'd still be a big guy short if they ended up with DeBonsa. But those guys are viewed as generational talents, which you would never pass up if you had a top 2 picks. That's why the Pacers did that trade. That's why they put that draft. That's why they protected the top 4, because they knew there are some legitimate game changers if they did get those. But they knew that if it fell out of the top 4, well, they don't need a point guard. They have Halliburton and they have Nembhard and Nesmith. They don't need, when you're in win now mode, you don't need a developmental point guard, especially when you're lacking a big guy. So, and then the Mathurin thing, they're like, oh, they even gave him away Mathurin. Well, Mathurin was going to be a free agent. So if they didn't do anything, they're going to lose Mathurin for nothing.
And still not have a center.
And still not have a center, exactly. So, so yeah, the only thing Pacers fans should be mad at is just bad ping pong ball luck. They shouldn't be mad at the trade. I would do the trade 10 out of 10 times. But yeah, anyone over saying this was such a terrible trade, unless Zubac just regresses tremendously, which we would have to regress tremendously because he would. And one more thing, he's cheaper than what Miles Turner is making with the Bucks too, and he's definitely a better defender than Miles Turner, who was
Yes.
a disappointment in the NBA Finals. So the whole re-sign going back to last offseason, the re-sign Turner. Why did he just do that? Well, he wasn't very good with the Bucks this year, and you're getting Zubac, who's better for cheap.
Yeah, and even back in February when this trade happened, you had said it then, like the pick doesn't even really matter to me. It's the fact that uh, we got Zubac, which was a good trade, and whether we get the pick or not, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean the pick would be amazing, and it would like make them probably the number one favorite in the East. I would imagine if you put DeBonsa on that roster as well,
Right.
because on a rookie deal, and you don't have that kind of talent, and he sets you up well for the future as well. So yeah, and now it just confirms the Pacers are in win now mode. You got to go all in. What these next 2 years with this, since you didn't get the lucky ping pong ball bounce to get a generational talent.
All right. Let's get into these second round playoff matchups. The Knicks, uh, not much to say here. They made quick work of the Philadelphia 76ers, completing the 4-game sweep. Um, Tied an NBA playoff record with 25 threes in that game four when they beat down on Philly 144 to 114. Advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals for the second straight season. Seemed like a pretty big favorite as we continue to watch the Pistons and Cavs duke it out. Potentially that one going 7 games could have a team worn down having to go up against this Knicks team that seems like the best team in the East. So, and then on the Western Conference side, Timberwolves and the Spurs series seems to be the most interesting one. Obviously, Thunder tonight could put it into the Lakers season. They're already up 3-0. So I think the Timberwolves Spurs series is probably the most talked about one, especially because of Victor Wembanyama's ejection in the second quarter of that one, which was a huge difference maker because the Spurs lose and the series is tied 2-2 after game four. So first thoughts on both of these series.
Yeah, it's kind of how we predicted earlier. I said Knicks in 5 or 6. Like I thought, surely Philly would get 1 or 2, but Knicks were the better, were were healthier and just had more rest. But no, Knicks made quick work of that, and that kind of brings into the question: was Boston really that terrible, or was Boston Philly's Super Bowl and they just felt content against just whatever against the Knicks? But yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, there's really not much to say. It was clearly who the better team was, who the best team in the East is at the moment. Really, the question comes down to: do they have a chance against the Thunder or Spurs? And if they shoot well, potentially, but I still don't think
57%. That'll beat
50.
anybody.
Yeah, that will be about anybody, but can you put that up against a Thunder defense? A Thunder defense versus a game four checked out Philly defense, halfway to Cancun Philly defense. So, but yeah, there's really not much to say. Knicks are going to get long rest, like you said, because the Cavs Pistons series, you could immediately tell from game one it's probably going to go exactly like the Cavs Raptors series did. The home team wins every game. It just looks like that kind of series. And then we said it'd be the most entertaining, and it probably will be. Um, but yeah, out west. So Timberwolves Spurs has kind of gone how I thought it would. I thought the Timberwolves could steal a couple, and with Wembanyama not being suspended for Game 5, I feel like if that was going to
That's
happen, then I
huge.
thought, okay, then this could be the Timberwolves could actually take this, but no, it's kind of gone as I predicted. The Timberwolves are feisty. They got that Game 1, and then the Game 4, they should have won by more. That just kind of, to me, it just kind of shows you the Spurs are better than the Timberwolves. That the Spurs have legitimate chances to win that game. Um, so yeah, the fact that Wembanyama's back, I think Spurs will still take care of the Timberwolves. But still, yeah, games 1 and 4, and actually only game 2 is the bad one. Like the Timberwolves are clearly satisfied with stealing game 1, so it was just kind of
Yeah.
boring. Yeah, but yeah, those 3 games have all been entertaining, and it's definitely been by far the most entertaining series in the West. Because Thunder Lakers.
Yeah, the only other narrative in the West is everyone complaining about the Thunder and they're flopping. I mean, it's everywhere now. It's
Game 2 was legitimately that was bad. That was just bad officiate, just a bad watch that did not make the Thunder look good to the common eye at all. Like I don't know how anyone could like a neutral fan could root for that, which usually good teams have their neutral fan, like bring in neutral fans to support and Game 3 was better. I thought Game 3 was much better officiated. The Thunder didn't do as much flopping. I thought, and Thunder just legitimately won that game. And this is how the whole every game, especially games 2 and games 3 were identical, and game 1 was similar. Thunder had a lead at half, but the Lakers are playing hard. They're playing hard every game. What's happening is they'll cut the lead or they'll take the lead, and then the Thunder brings some guy off the bench you forgot was on the team. He'll hit 2 threes, kill all the momentum, timeout, and then Thunder have a 10-point lead. Lakers make a comeback. A different guy makes 2 threes, timeout, and then whether it's Caruso, whether it's Wallace, whether it's Joe, whether it's who's the Mitchell, Jared McCain, let me rant on that really quick. So the 76ers, who we talked about last week, were only playing like 5 guys, 6. Grimes came in a lot. So injury-prone team, no depth. Man, wouldn't it be nice if they had a young guy who they drafted just a couple of years ago to come off the bench to help instead of, just trading him to the best team for nothing. I mean, seriously. I mean, what a stupid trade. And
that's a stupid trade.
Of course, the Thunder would take advantage of it. I'm not blaming the Thunder. I'm blaming the Sixers. And then, Jared McCain's been great off the bench. Storyline tonight LeBron's last game as a Laker. Because I highly doubt it's his last game ever. I don't think he's going to want. I think he's going to want some sort of retirement year, like one celebration year. But his contract is up, and the Lakers are a good team, but they're clearly in the tier below the Thunder and the Spurs. So, tonight could be LeBron's last game as a Laker. So, might want to tune in.
Yeah, and it's crazy. The Lakers has been his longest tenured in one sitting with a team in his whole career. It just doesn't really sit right with me when you think about what he means to Cleveland and even Miami. I could almost see him doing like a return to one of those 2 places for his final year. I would go to Cleveland.
Cleveland would make the most sense. Yeah, Cleveland would make the most sense.
He could come off the bench in Cleveland and just be a mentor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's just like what kind of role is he going to want to have in his last year too? Because will he want to ring chase or will he want to be the guy? But I think he's smart enough to know that if he is straight up the guy,
for sure,
they'll be good. But no, not a championship contender anymore. So it'll be fascinating to see what he does. Or he could just stay in LA because Bronny's there. He lives in LA. But who knows?
Yeah. Back to the Spurs. It definitely shows this team is better than Minnesota because you get 24 off the bench from Harper, 20 from Castle, 24 from Fox. Kind of makes up for the Wembanyama not being in there in Game 4. I just really want to see this young core go up against OKC in the next round. So hopefully we get that. But this Minnesota team's been to the West Finals the last 2 seasons, so they know how to get there somehow, some way. They scrap and claw and get to that round of the bracket. So we'll see what happens with the rest of this series.
It's funny how the Timberwolves could clearly take out the Spurs, but they would have no chance at all against the Thunder.
Yeah,
the Spurs could easily lose to the Timberwolves, but they could also take out the I'm not saying
it's all matchup driven.
They definitely can take out the Thunder. Yeah, it's all matchup driven. Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's move on to the tee box. Like we said, it is PGA Championship week, and and to me, it's the most underrated major. Honestly, the most straightforward test of who the best golfer is in the world that week. Um, so for anyone who looks at this like it's the fourth best major, one, you're probably right when you take it into context with the other three. But two, I think you're really underselling the tournament because of the lack of tradition that accompanies it and the way that we look at the Masters or the U.S. Open or the Open. It's a little bit more corporate, big stadium stage rather than the traditions of Jack Nicklaus and those guys teeing off to begin the Masters or the U.S. Open and how brutal it is. But I'm going to give it its flowers here because I assume no one else will. So, what makes this tournament special? It's obviously it's run by the PGA of America, not the PGA Tour, not the USGA or the R&A. It's a completely different governance and setup philosophy, and unlike the other three majors, where the Masters is about precision and obviously the traditional nature of the course. U.S. Open is brutally difficult. The Open, with its links courses and weather factors, PGA is really set up to reward the best all-around player. Typically, you'll see scores around 8 under to 15 under. It's not as punishing as a U.S. Open with JJ Spawn winning at 1 under at Oakmont last year. It's not as volatile as the Open setup, where obviously with the links course, if you're not used to that style of course, then you're not setting yourself up for success. If you strip away the gimmicks, the weather, and the extreme setups, PGA Championship usually is the purest test of who's playing the best golf that week. It's like if you keep everything neutral, who really separates themselves. And I think the defining feature of this tournament is the club pro element. Uh, Around 20 PGA professionals, or club pros as they're called, qualify each year. It's the only major with this dynamic. So there are no amateurs like we get in the other three. It's all professional golf here, which can create some cool underdog stories like Michael Block from a few years ago, which he's playing in it again this season. He qualified again, so we'll see him potentially up there on the leaderboard this time around. But what do you think of this tournament in context with the other three?
So I've always, and golf purists would kill me for this, but I've always thought the PGA should just embrace making it as easy as possible. I think I've talked about this before. Make it as easy as possible, and just throw out, well, oh, this guy set the all time lowest major score. Throw just no one cares about that. Just throw that out
Yeah.
there. Make it as easy as possible because the point of the majors is to figure out who the best golfers are. U.S. Open does that, like you said, by making it a brutal course, as brutal as possible. Masters pressure, like it's all about who can take in the most pressure because it's just the nostalgia of Augusta. It's a difficult course.
Yeah.
Links golf and the Open. You're right, that like that. Okay, another way to test who the best golfer is who can win a birdie contest. Like who can take advantage of. Like we don't need to see brutal holes. Like if you're just doing that every major, then you're not showing exactly all the skill sets of a golfer. Make it who can win a birdie contest, who can make the most eagles. Like of course make it a nice course, but I'm not talking about like your local trashy course. Just make that where like make it a prestigious course, but make it very very easy for a pro
The rough
guy.
down.
Cut the rough down.
Whole location's favorable.
Whole location's favorable, and I think it'd be awesome. And like I said, throw out the scores. Like, oh, I mean, no one's ever gonna lowest major score ever. No one's gonna care about that. I won't care about that. No one should. But yeah, I think it'd be fun. But like you said, it usually is the easiest, despite not getting as easy as I want it to be. But yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of tradition. I almost do think what hurts it is the whole name thing that
Yeah.
people get it confused with the PGA Tour and the PGA.
Yeah.
I do think that plays a part in why it's definitely the least popular of the majors. But yeah, I'm always look forward to it because May's peak golf season, spring. So, and when it's a major that brings in all the top guys, I'm going to be watching.
Yeah, and I'm glad it's in May. They moved it from August to May back in 20. I think it was 2019 was the first one held in May since like 1949.
Because by August, you're kind of like you're getting into
They
football
didn't want to
season.
compete with the NFL,
You're getting
basically.
into football
Yeah.
season, and yeah, like summertime's coming to an end, which is when everyone wants to go off. And yeah, so I think it's the right. I agree with you. I like Maybit.
All right, and something we didn't do with the Masters because it's at the same venue every year. Let's do a course breakdown, as obviously with the next three majors, uh, we get rotations of different courses from around the U.S. and around Europe. So this year they're headed to Aronimink. It's a par 70 Donald Ross design back in 1928. It actually held the PGA Championship back in 1962 when Gary Player won it. It's actually the first time, the first men's major here in over 60 years. So it's kind of has that lost classic feel to this course. The only real modern reference point that we have for the players that played on this course recently was 2018, the BMW Championship. Keegan Bradley won in a playoff versus Justin Rose. Some of the guys I'll mention later in the segment were towards the top of this leaderboard in 2018 as well, but this was a long time ago. I mean, 2018, that's that's 8 years
8 years
ago.
ago.
I mean, Tiger Woods was T6 that year at 17 under, so that kind of lets you know what the tour was like then. It also held the 2020 Women's PGA Championship, so this is the first time since 2020 that it's holding like hosting a big event here. So it's a classic Ross design, elevated greens with false fronts and runoffs, emphasis on angles and positioning, strategic bunkering. It's not overly penal, but well placed. Um, how this course will play, uh, approach play is going to be the biggest thing here. It's the number one skill you're going to be looking for out of players this weekend because Ross greens demand proper angles. Missing in the wrong spots, you're going to get some automatic bogeys here. So this is very much a second shot golf course. The greens are subtle; they're not extreme like Augusta, but the slopes are difficult to read. Lag putting is going to be critical for the guys. Um, Off the tee, fairways matter more than average PGA setups. The rough is expected to be a little bit more penal, but not a pure bomb and gouge week for the Bryson DeChambeau types. He's going to have to get out the 3-wood. Par threes are going to be the key separator here. Historically, one of the hardest elements at Aronimink events. They're going to require long iron precision. There's going to be some longer par threes than they're maybe used to at this event. The key holes that I'm going to be watching for the opening par four first. It's a downhill, then goes to an uphill slope, which is going to demand that immediate ball striking from their approach shots. First hole they get out there is they're going to have to be tested. The par four fifth, classic Ross design, strategic bunkering, precision into the green, the par 5 16th, which is a good scoring opportunity. It's reachable for the long hitters in two, but it's definitely going to be a big risk reward late into this tournament. Par 3 17th, there's water in play at this hole, likely pivotal on Sunday if this one's close. And then the closing par 4 18th. With the uphill finish, it's going to demand two elite shots. Pretty cool course. I obviously haven't been able to see it recently on the tour, so I'm pretty excited to get to see this one on the screen here. But what do you think about this
Yeah,
course
and
coming into it?
I'm glad it's a course that hasn't been used in a while because lately there's been a few where I'm like, weren't they just here like last
Going to
year or
Pebble
something?
Beach for the U.S. Open every
Yeah,
3 years.
exactly. Like I love Pebble Beach, but I mean, come on, that would like um, take a break from there a little bit. So yeah, I enjoy that. But yeah, approach shots are important, so that definitely highlights a few guys in the field, and then there's also guys that you might want to fade because of that.
Yep. So that'll get me right into my next the point here is who are the players that fit this course. So the ideal skill set you're looking for are guys who are elite at strokes gained on approach, strong proximity from 150 to 200 yards, above average lag putting, smart course management. So really just thinking like elite iron players who don't make a ton of mistakes. And the first guy that comes to mind is Colin Morikawa. He's one of the best iron players in the world. Thrives on these positionally strategic courses. and a perfect fit for this course. And honestly, he's been playing well. And uh, with the whole back injury thing, he was actually doing all right whenever we saw him last. He is expected to play. He's got some odds right now, so I'm gonna assume he is going to play, and that back is better than it was the last time we saw him. Um, Xander Schauffele and Scotty Scheffler are always a couple of guys that you want to mention because Xander is a consistent major performer and has an elite all-around profile. And then, I mean, we have to mention Scotty every major tournament because he's the best tee to green player in the world, number one in the official world golf rankings. And if his putting is even average, he's going to be in the top five of this leaderboard come Sunday. You just can't not mention him when we do these major tournament segments because it would just be an insult. And then the last couple of guys, Victor Hovland and Ludwig Oberg, a couple of elite ball strikers as well. So those all seem like just the big names that everyone is already talking about. And I know we just had a first-time winner last week at the Truist, which was held at last season's PGA Championship venue, Quail Hollow. This is the PGA, and if you look back at the recent winners at this tournament, the names are Scotty, Xander, Brooks Koepka, Justin Thomas, Phil Mickelson, Colin Morikawa, Brooks Koepka, Justin Thomas again. So the last time we really had like a real newcomer was back in 2016 with Jimmy Walker, which was his first and only major win and one of only 6 PGA Tour wins he had. And that was before this tournament was moved from August to May. So it's only been big names since the move. This is a tournament for the big boys, which just reinforces my belief that this is the purest test of who the best golfer is. So who do you like this week?
Yeah, interesting odds. So Scheffler's the favorite defending champion of this event at Quail Hollow. He's plus 480. He's plus 100.
Plus
To be
100.
top five. To be top five, which is hilarious. So Rory had his first event last weekend since the Masters, and he was. But how seriously was he taking it? Probably not very seriously. Will he have the drive here? I don't know. He's plus 850 to win. Of course, Cam Young, we talked about him last week. He's the third favorite. He's plus 1,200. And definitely, well, it depends how you view hottest guy. Most wins recently, yes, but Scheffler's also had 3 straight top twos. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to call that as hot also. So, yeah. I'm looking at these odds. Oberg had a good bounce back this past weekend. He got off to a bad start, but he got hot on Sunday, I believe, and wasn't too far off the leaderboard. So that's good for him. But I want to trust him. He fits the mold for a lot of these majors, but then you just cannot trust him come Sunday. I don't want to go Scheffler because that's too easy. And I don't know. This guy always screams at me, and I might just take him just for the long shot. Matt Fitzpatrick, he's been good. Like, he was really good in the RBC Heritage, and he won 2 events in a row, and kind of been quiet recently. But I don't even know if he's always been in. I don't know if he's been in anything since the
Probably not.
Zurich. So,
I wouldn't if I won back to back.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's plus 2,200. So I don't know. That's a guy who's kind of been forgotten about recently, last couple of weeks, and I feel like he's a major winner. He's won the U.S. Open. I kind of like him as my non-Scheffler pick.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad thing to just pick Scheffler because, I mean, he has been just finishing second, third, and there's a reason why he's the best player in the world, and it's a different guy beating him all these different weeks. He's the guy to beat, and he's the only guy that the winner is beating all these different weeks. But the fade profile of the guys you want to potentially look at to maybe miss the cut.
If there's an LIV next to their name, unless you're Tyrrell Hatton,
yeah,
I will never fade Tyrrell Hatton. I like his before we get to fades. I like him plus 400 top 10 or plus 185 top 20. Especially that top 20, I would look at that extensively. Like this guy just shows up at major.
he's the most consistent live guy.
Yeah, he's always there towards the top in majors, and if you're getting plus money for top 20, I like him there. But other than that, DeChambeau, no, I don't like him
He's
either.
my number one fade this week.
Number
He's
one
been
fade.
inconsistent in majors. He's a bomb and
Two
gouge
years
type.
ago, in the PGA at Valhalla, he was very good and almost won it.
Very different course then, though.
Very different course. Yeah, this doesn't approach shots for him. Yeah, I don't like it all. And then John Rahm, his name's always towards the top, but he had a pitiful Masters performance, and then he won that Mexico Live thing. But yeah, I don't. I wish I could trust him too, but yeah, any guy with Live next to their name, I would fade. And then Kepka's pretty high in the odds, and I understand why, because when you mentioned previous champions, you mentioned his name 3 times in the last 8 years. But and I'm glad he's back on the PGA Tour, but he hasn't shown anything to me to warrant any kind of like even last year he wasn't very good in the PGA Championship, so I would fade him as well for like a top 10 or 20 in my opinion.
Yeah, some other guys, Minwoo Lee, he's very consistent with his iron play week to week, and also can also get too aggressive hole to hole. So he's someone that you could maybe look to fade this week. Aronimink really just feels like the type of course where discipline matters more than any kind of big power or flair like what Bryson DeChambeau has. I was actually looking at Cameron Young to fade him this week because he's going in. He's probably the most trendy pick for this tournament, given his recent success. He's a lead off the tee from distance, can overpower most modern setups, but he's got a streaky putter. An approach play can fluctuate, and that is my whole ideal. My whole idea, my whole mindset of this tournament is the approach play is going to be key. So my favorite pick here is Colin Morikawa. He has won the PGA before. I would like a top 5 finish for him at plus 650. Pretty good odds for that. He's my top guy. I would also Ricky Fowler's in the field. Maybe he could get his first major championship. Plus 900 for top 5, but I would probably maybe look for like a top 20 for him. He has been playing decent golf recently, and you can't trust him to win these.
What'd you say?
These events,
Top 20? Do you have his top 20 number?
His top 20. Let's see. Give me 1 sec. Top 20s plus 195, which for top 20s, that's actually.
There's another
guy.
I mentioned Hatton, but there's another guy in this range, that exact range. I also he's had a really good year, and I don't know why he's this low, but Chris Gotterup, he's a plus 195 top 20, a plus 460 top 10. I would look into that as well. I feel like he's had an underrated season. He had a couple victories early in the year. I think he had a decent Masters too.
I don't want to be wrong, but I feel like you're right on that.
Quick Google search while we're on the air. Chris Gotterup Masters 21st. Okay, he was 21st. I think at one point he was in the top 10, though. I remember he was kind of in contention. But yeah, I mean, that's not even a bad finish for the Masters. Yeah, I like plus 195 Gotterup, and maybe even I would think about plus 4 if we're doing a top 10 bet. Plus 400 Hatton. I'm just value here. I'm just going strictly on value because that's
very good value for him.
A guy who's shown up in majors consistently.
Yeah, I definitely expect to
see. No matter the type of course, no matter the type of every major. Yeah, it doesn't matter what kind of.
He's a one size fits all for for these courses. Definitely expect to see these guys at the top on Sunday, Colin, Scotty, Xander. This isn't a week where you can just fake it. You have to hit your irons at an elite level. So what to target? The guys to target be the strokes gained on approach, greens and regulation percentage, bogey avoidance, par 3 scoring. I believe the guys that we've mentioned are very good in that respect, and really excited to see, because this is like I said, this is the best major to show who is at their top of their game and who's the top in the world. So because with the U.S. Open, it's like you get some random guys here and there winning it just because everyone struggles, and so love the PGA Championship. But there's one story that I think everyone should be keeping an eye on, and we kind of have to every year since 2017. If you've forgotten, Jordan Spieth is still only a PGA Championship away from the career Grand Slam. His last wins were a while ago, but he won the Masters in 2015, tying Tiger's 72-hole scoring record at 18 under. Then the U.S. Open that same year after surviving brutal conditions at Chambers Bay, and then the Open Championship in 2017 with that famous comeback at Royal Birkdale, which we're back at again this season for the Open. Would become the 7th player to do it after Rory obviously put his name into immortality last year. But Jordan Spieth's been stuck on 3 legs of this Grand Slam for almost a decade now, which is kind of crazy considering how dominant he looked in 2015.
This is such a weird. I mean, I'm sure is there anyone? There's probably a guy or two who's also in this scenario as well, but I feel like the PGA, not winning the PGAs.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, we could get him getting the career Grand Slam in this tournament, and then come next month, the U.S. Open, Scotty has an opportunity.
Yeah, or if Mickelson wins, or is Mickelson still needs the U.S. Open as well?
Yeah.
Which that one makes more sense because U.S. Open is just a brutal one, but like PGA just values who the best golfer is, and for a time Jordan Spieth was the best golfer, so he thought he was
the youngest number one since Tiger.
Yeah, so it's just fascinating. This was the one he has not gotten, and I don't see any way he can get. By the way, he hasn't shown anything recently that suggests that he's the best, one of the best.
I see him pop up on my feed all the time, though, with a round score of 63 or 64, and a lot of these tournaments, but he just can't put together a whole 4-day weekend.
Nope.
Some of his closest calls, or just his PGA Championship history, 2015, it was probably his closest call, finishing second at Whistling Straits. An incredible year considering he had already won 2 majors and had tied for 4th at the Open. He almost had the Tiger Slam type of year. Spieth basically ran into one of the hottest major performances ever by Jason Day, shot a then tournament record 20 under. 2019, he was T3 at Bethpage. He was never really in the final pairing pressure cooker like late Sunday because Brooks Koepka had such a massive lead early in that one. And this was during the beginning of Spieth's lost years stretch where he had swing inconsistency, declining confidence, putting regression. So seeing him back near contention at a major briefly reignited the maybe he can still complete the Grand Slam. So, and then 2021, this isn't a close call, but it is significant at Kiowa Island. He entered that tournament in excellent form. He won the Valero Texas Open, multiple top finishes beforehand, and people genuinely thought that this could have been the year in 2021. But he finished well back at T30 for a tournament score of +2. Never seriously threatened Phil Mickelson, and it just showed how much the golf world wants this storyline so bad. Because
Koepka was in that final pairing. Koepka's just been dominant in this.
This tournament is his.
Yeah, 3. I don't know if he finished second, but I know he was in the final pairing with Mickelson that year. He won it in 21. So
yeah, I mean, Spieth went from looking like the next Tiger in 2015, just the way he burst on the scene, the same way Tiger did, to basically spending the next decade chasing one tournament, never really winning much in between.
No, or
So
contending in much either.
yeah, he's still one of the most fun players to watch on tour, just because you don't know what he's going to say, how he's going to
You're going to
react.
say he always has spectacular par saves because he'll have a terrible drive or a terrible
Yes.
approach shot, and then somehow still make par, save par.
Even with his lack of success since 2017, you'll still see a big crowd behind him this weekend, especially. So yeah, so with all that in mind, course fit, kind of the history of this tournament. Uh, any last thoughts on the PGA Championship before the tournament gets underway this Thursday?
Not really. I think this is just a great test to see who the best golfer is right now. Nothing too out of the ordinary for a major course. It's nothing like what was the Oakmont U.S. Open last year.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. Nothing like that. It's not Augusta. I haven't even. Have you looked at the weather at all? Is there?
Ooh, I have not.
That's always a
That
factor.
is,
Yeah. Before we quit
especially in
talking,
Philly, it could be
I'll
windy.
look up Philly weather. Yeah. Okay. Thursday there is a 90% chance of rain and it's 66, but after that it looks clear and hot. Well, Friday's 70 clear, and Saturday and Sunday 81 and 85 sunshine.
Very nice.
Yep. So that rain could be nice for later in the week. So if it didn't rain, it could be like concrete like later. So might soak things up a little bit, and then so that things don't get too dry come Sunday.
All right, let's send us home here with our final word. Logan, what do you got for us?
Yep. So we talked about a lot, but we didn't talk anything about the biggest sports league that exists, and that would be the NFL. Schedule release is Thursday, but leaks are coming in, and they've already announced a couple. We got a few games today, and stop me if you've heard this before. Sunday Night Football, Cowboys Giants. Once again, the NFL is forcing the NFC East down our throat. These two teams had losing records last year. This game in prime time has not been good for a long time. Last year, if you recall, that Cowboys Giants Week 2 game was a fantastic game. But I honestly think it was because it was a 1 o'clock game. When you put this game on prime time, it's terrible. Dak Prescott and company have owned the Giants here in the last decade, and it's just been an awful watch. Last time this was a Sunday night game, the score was 40-0. No one, the days of the Beckham catches and the Eli Manning versus Romo are long gone. No one wants to see this in a primetime game. Since 2006, this has been a Sunday night football game. And 2006 is significant because that's when NBC got Sunday night football.
Gotcha.
Since then, the Cowboys Giants has been a week 1 or 2 matchup on Sunday night football 8 times. No, like I said, these two teams have losing records. I'll see improvements probably in the Giants this year. Cowboys, I don't see much change at all. I just see the same old, same old. There's nothing here. There's going to be great matchups that will probably be sprinkled throughout. That'll probably be on the 1 o'clock window. That would have made a much better Sunday night game. But that's my
For
rant
sure.
because. But we do get there's a nice. They announced the Thursday night opener, not the week 1 opener, like Thursday night football week 2 opener. We got Bills and Lions. Or Lions at Bills. That's a good opener for Thursday night football on Amazon.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we're getting still a few months away from the season, but this time of year, I get excited to see what the schedule is going to turn out for us. And yeah, I would take it a step further and say that they're forcing the Cowboys down our throats each year. Because I mean,
At least the Cowboys at least contend for the playoffs. The Giants haven't contended for the playoffs ever. Like, I mean, yes, I agree. It's mostly Cowboys, but for some reason the Giants get lumped into this a lot too. Like they're always on Monday Night Football. I feel like, and no, it's so
too much nostalgia, not enough. What's happening right now with these
yes, it's
franchises.
the 2 Eli Manning runs, and it was just those 2 runs because outside of those years, they really weren't good very often. Kept that franchise has kept the nostalgia alive this long, but we're gonna have to hope Jackson Dart does something or else they're gonna continue to. I don't see them stopping them showing them on prime time, even though they could be 2-15 every year.
All right. Next week's episode, probably looking at recapping some NBA playoff. Will the conference finals have started by next week? I'm not sure.
No, because I anticipate these other two series are going to go 6. Well, they're for sure going 6, I feel like, and then maybe 7. And I think Sunday would be a game 7. So
we'll be able to preview conference finals.
Preview, yeah.
Perfect. And then recapping the PGA Championship outcome for sure. And then give our reactions to the NFL schedule release. The biggest storylines coming out of that. As last week I was off on my weeks, off on my dates, figuring out when the NFL schedule release was. But that's the show. This has been the K&L Sports Huddle for Logan Hubert. I'm Cage Kiplinger. May your bets hit, your team not choke, and your stress levels stay manageable. We'll huddle up again next week.